Tomorrow?
Tuesday night and Wednesday.
You're gonna daven Wednesday?
I only do Psuke de Zimra on the morning.
That's all. So how come you were there all morning?
What do you mean? How come I'm there all
If
morning?
you so only do you should be finished by 20 up.
Yeah. I do a slow Psuke de Zimra. Okay, let's
That's why I
learning
started
sponsors, gentlemen. Okay, enough of the frivolity. A year of learning. Many friends of Stephen Vigdal Zech Nishmat Simcha Melech Ben Meir Leib Halevi. Okay, Zev, you okay?
Yep.
Harvey, you have a place? Okay. Friends of Marcy Kurtz in memory of great niece Leah Bracha. Isaac and Evelyn Blachor in memory of his sister Chaya Rachel Bas Isser. Friends of Leonie Meiselman, Leah Sabra Bas Chanaf Zum. A month of learning by Charlie Gelfenstein in memory of his mother Dacia Gilbas Meir Levi and his friend Meir Ben Yaakov. Chaim and Phyllis Reese in memory of his father Mordechai Ben Yom Tov Lipa. Isaac and Evelyn Blachor in memory of his mother Zissel Bas Chaim Yitzchak. Chaim called me when we were in Israel. I'll tell you, not right now, but another time in story. 2 months of learning by friends of Milton and Meller in honor of his second bar mitzvah. Week of learning, Shoshana Berger in memory of her father, Tzvi Ben Shraga Dover Cohen, Susan Fruchter Kramer in memory of her father, Moshe Ben Yechiel Michel. Today is the 29th, right? So, yeah, 28th?
28.
28th. All right, so we don't have any today. Okay, may Hashem is having a Leah crank or feel about the share Shem of Leah, Hoban Israel, good bench jar. Okay. Okay. All right, we are on Lamed Daled Amud Aleph, top of the Amud. Okay.
There's no need to go back.
Okay, because we finished that, indicating, well, we're touching back on just to indicate again the fact that when we concluded yesterday's daf, okay, one of the opinions was very clear that Mishum Pruta de Rav Yosef lo Shachia. Okay, that was an important concept, that this idea, we said that the poor person would come and request a donation at the same time that you were going to be taking care of a lost object, and therefore the question of whether you would be considered a shomer chinam or a shomer sachar, things like that. Okay, and that situation is not a common enough situation to have to really be so concerned about. Okay, so that's where we ended off yesterday. Okay, so the Gemara picks up Tznan. We learned elsewhere in our Mishnah. Okay, and then else was our particular Mishnah. Makom shenot lina lehasachar, in a place where one normally would receive compensation or funds for taking time away from their work. Okay, to look for the lost object, to care for it, etc. Tipol hana'ah. Okay. Lehekdesh. The text said clearly that when there's a neder from regarding the finder towards the one who lost, okay, that the finder cannot get that compensation, but it must go towards the temple, the Gizbar, to the Beis Hamikdash. Okay, so that's why I said it seems like a short piece, but there's a lot of words that have to be filled in. Bishlema leman amar afilu b'shenichse ba'al aveda asura al machzir. That's understandable, says the language of our Mishnah, regarding the situation where the finder, okay, of the lost possessions, okay, is forbidden, okay, or has had the neder against him, let's say, okay, by the one he's supposed to return it to, the loser, the one who lost it. Nami Mahada, because when again they return, Hainu Dikatani, that's where we teach clearly Makom Shenotlin Aleh Sachar Tipol Hana Ala Hekdesh. That's where it's very appropriate, in a sense, to say that that were there to be compensation coming to the finder, okay, there's a situation there of benefit, and therefore that benefit instead should go to, because of the neder, that benefit should go to the temple precinct. Okay, excuse me. Ela laman da'amar k'shenichsei ba'al aveda asura al maksim. But when we say that the lost possessions, okay, of the owner, let's say, are forbidden on the finder, and therefore they should not be returning, lo mahader, they should not be returning it. Amaiti pol hana ala hakdesh. Under that circumstance, okay, why should that compensation go to the Beis Hamikdash instead? Why shouldn't the person then receive that compensation simply as compensation for their lost time of looking for the item or taking care of the item or things like that? Achada katani. No, says the Gemara. We're only talking about one party, namely the owner of the lost property. That's who we're focusing on in that situation. So now the Gemara goes on to tell us, okay, that was one way of describing the situation. Now we're going to have a different lashon. Okay, right. Ikadamatne labaha lishna. And there are those who teach the same situation, but in a different language. Okay? Plige ba Rabbi Ami v'Rabbi Asi. There is this machloket between Rabbi Ami and Rabbi Asi. Chad amar, one says, lo shanu ela b'shenichse bal aveda asura al machzir. One says it's a situation where the lost objects are prohibited to the finder, okay? Okay, by the owner, right? By the one who lost it, let's put it that way, okay? Umishum pruta de Rav Yosef, and due to this concern for the, which we saw raised earlier of the pruta de Rav Yosef, lest somebody come, okay, and request a donation during his search or maintaining the lost object, right? Okay. And lo shachiach, and that concern is not commonly done. It's one thing. Aval nichse machzir, but the lost object, okay, of the individual, asura abal aveda, okay, where that's forbidden.
Then it goes the other
way, where it's the opposite direction. What happens? Lo mahader le, he doesn't return it to him. Mishum deka mahani le, okay, because the person's going to benefit from it by having that item to return it. It's a benefit. Okay. V'chad amar, and the other one says a little differently. Afilu nichse machzir asura abal aveda. Even when the lost, excuse me, object of the finder, of the possessions of the finder are forbidden, okay, on the one who lost. Mutar, it's permitted, right? The chimahader le mide, because when he returns something to him, dinafshe kimahader le, he's returning what originally was his. In any case,
so there's no real.
So it's not considered benefit. Okay, just returning the lost object. Okay,
it started out his. It's still his.
It's still really his, right? Or you could take, excuse me, or you could take the whole approach and say he's simply fulfilling the mitzvah of Hashava Aveda, right?
Mitzvah saying that.
All right, and exactly, and a mitzvah is not done with ben. Okay, that would have been a much easier way to clarify the whole surah, right? but they didn't. However, the Gemara goes on now and tells us there's a challenge. Tanan. Nevertheless, our Mishnah says, Makom shenotlim aleha sachar tipol hanahan lahekdesh. That's what our Mishnah clearly stated, that where there is this compensation, it should go to the Gizbar, to the Beis HaMikdash. So the Gemara continues. Bishlem laman da'amar afilu b'shenichsei machzir asura abal aveda. That's again acceptable when we say that even when it's the lost property of the finder, and it's forbidden, okay, by the one who lost the property,
For the finder.
right? Mahader, he returns it. Hainu, the mataretz makom, because this then is a valid explanation of why we say labriut, okay, the statement of makom, okay, that it goes to in that situation, it goes to the gizbar, okay? Ela, but rather, Laman da Amar, B'shenichsei machzir asurin v'lo mahader. But according to the one who says that the lost objects belong,
Then it goes the other way.
Okay.
Don't return it.
right, that regarding the finder, and he's forbidden, okay, those lost objects, and therefore he cannot return it. Hechi mitaretz makom. Why then do we need to come up with an explanation, okay, for the use of the phrase in our Mishnah that in that situation, okay, because the point is it doesn't apply to him. He should get compensation, basically. Kasha, okay? In other words, there's no benefit there. It's simply
No, if
compensation.
you're gonna say
for his
you
lost
cannot
time.
return it,
Yeah.
why do you even raise the issue
Issue.
of the reward money?
Right, because we're saying the implication is that reward money should go to him as compensation, and therefore
Not
it's
if
kasha. Okay, that's the
Not
point.
if you return
Okay. Yes. Okay. So what happens? Let's go to the next Amud. Amar Rava. Says Rava as follows. Haitalefanav kikar shel hefker. Let's say that there was a loaf of bread, and the person who currently owned that loaf, okay, made it hefker.
So there is no current owner.
Okay, so now that loaf is ownerless. Okay, va'amar, and he says, then the
No,
okay,
this is now a finder. a second
okay,
party.
another person comes back and says, kikar zo hekdesh. Okay, an individual comes forward and says, this ownerless loaf is now designated as hekdesh.
And he was not yet.
Okay.
owner.
Okay, hold on. Okay, wait. Okay, don't jump ahead too much. Okay, natla la'ochla. Then that same person who declared the loaf, ownerless loaf, hekdesh, nevertheless goes ahead and takes it, lifting it up and eating. The act of lifting it up implies what? It is now
Well, it's a Kenyan.
an act of kinyan. Okay, that's the point. That's why I said let's not rush ahead. Okay, what happens? Since he now picked it up, but had previously declared it as hekdesh, he has committed meila, and that's what now the Gemara tells us. Ma'al lefi kula. Okay, he has considered an act. He is
Can you please tell me the difference between the ownership and making it back?
I don't think
What
that
is his
applies.
question?
Okay, let's hold off on that, Sid. Okay? All right?
That's not the case.
Okay.
case is he made
The,
it back.
the situation is currently, he has lifted this piece of ownerless loaf that he claimed was hekdesh, having eaten from it. He has now committed me'il behekdesh.
So once he says it's hekdesh, then it belongs, it does get an owner, even if there's no kinyan. Because
Well,
it
wait.
becomes hekdesh
Wait.
because he's
Step by
proximity.
step. Number one, once it's considered hekdesh, it belongs to the Beis Hamikdash, to the Gizmo.
But-
And then,
Yes, he does. It's ownerless.
So, because it's ownerless, but Chazal say that.
whoa,
Wait,
guys, wait, one at a
I put
time,
a sign that
Wait a
it's
time.
ownerless, and I put it on the leg.
one at a time. Okay. It's been made ownerless. Now that it's ownerless, a second person comes along, declares it hekdesh.
Even though he actually didn't make a kinyan on it, but it's in his Daled Amos, Konus Lo, and therefore that's a kinyan, and now he has the right to make it
hekdesh.
hegdish.
Okay.
And now he picks it up and actually
Okay.
makes a physical kinyan.
And he's stealing.
Okay, right. Well, first of all, I had a problem with the Gemara having to read in that it was in his Daled Amos.
Well, I can't say something in China is
No,
hekdesh.
but it doesn't mean that it has to be within his
Well,
Daled
he
Amos.
has to be close
All right.
enough
I
to
mean,
it.
all
to
right.
be
But I'm
able-
saying I
Alright.
had the problem. I'm
even-
not-
all right. So here's
Okay,
even if you do not say that he was kind through proximity,
right,
you have to say he is the closest person to it
fine.
at the point that, and he's close enough.
It's right over there. I see it
That's
over
what the
there.
Daled Amos.
If it's if it's by, if it's by the
While
bag,
Sydney is sitting, you have the
No.
right to give it to Hector.
No,
She's
if
too
it's-
far away. You can't do it. It
I-
has to be where you have the ability to be kind of it, so you can be makna it on for someone else. In other words, I could, if this were
right,
ownerless, I could say, I am conated on behalf of you. Even, and because it's close enough to me, that kinyan works.
okay,
That's the process by which he is kind of it on
okay.
behalf of
So
that.
you're, all right, so in other,
Otherwise,
he
can't do it.
has to be in enough proximity, okay, that he can acquire it for somebody else, you're arguing,
Correct.
okay? I still had a problem
That's
with
the
that too,
Well,
okay?
how can you have a
I think-
problem? with
Because
that?
I do.
Okay.
Because to me, that's the Gemara's not, that's Mefarshim reading into the Gemara,
No,
The
how can you
Gemaras
have
that
it?
say that.
Tell
They're
me
the-
any other way to
Oh.
read the Gemara.
okay?
There
Right,
is no other way
Avi,
to read.
hold on.
Correct, correct.
What? No, it's not a lost object anymore, okay?
It never was a lost object. The first
Whoa,
owner
one.
says-
One at a time, guys.
Sure, we have it.
Hey, come on, go ahead. Right,
Someone else comes up and says, I want to make this hectic.
First he makes the kinyan and makes it.
okay?
And then-
If he's in the implication is, if he's in the proximity to do so, okay, then he has the power to do so. All I'm saying is, as I looked at the Gemara, I'm not disagreeing, I'm just saying I had a hard time
So he
with
picked it
that
up and
reading
made
in
it
it.
hectic. What's the
Okay,
difference?
so that's to me, there was the difference.
This one is a loaf of bread. picked up to eat. But I'm saying, someone puts out a bookcase that they don't want. You can see it in a lot of places. And the first song it says free. Somebody else comes on, she makes it hectic. So that's now for the temple. But then he goes and takes it himself. You can't do that.
That's the whole point. That's the whole point. okay?
Exactly. the
All right.
case, and he
So
can't
the
do that.
implication here is as follows. Okay, this loaf was ownerless. He designated it either by proximity or some other matters, taking that he could do it for somebody else. Doing that is a zechus, so to speak, zochin adam shelo befanav. That I understand, okay? And therefore he designates it as hekdesh. He then, however, picks it up, which is an act of kinyan, and then eats it. So he is committed ma'al lefi kula.
And he needs a kinyan because that's the Megillah.
Okay, that's the act of me'ila, right? Lahorisha levanav. Were he to do that, acquire, let's say, that loaf, not for himself to eat it, but for the benefit of gratitude with it for others. In that case, ma'al lefi tovat hana'ah sheba. He has still committed an act of me'ila. In that case, because of benefit that is accruing to others.
Which need some kind of an estimator to quantify.
That may be, I don't know. Okay. Bamine Rav Chia bar Avin mirava. And so Rav Chia bar Avin asks Rava the following. Kikari alayach. If the person made a vow by saying a new situation, right? My loaf regarding to you is whatever, off limits, korban, however, right? Vinatna lo b'matana. But then he gives the person that same loaf as a gift. Mahu. What is the situation? Okay, so the Gemara goes on. Kikari amarlo. He specifically said, my loaf. Right? Ki ite birshute huda asur. Okay, so long as it is in his domain, his reshus, okay, it is forbidden. Is that the case? In other words, only when it's in the domain of the gift giver is that when it's forbidden. But once as a gift, it is now in the hands of the receiver, it is edible. Okay, o dilma, or perhaps alayich amarle, since he could have phrased it kikari alayich, that the prohibition is not on the object, but it's on the person, on you. Okay, and that's what he said in the language of the vow. Iluye shavite hekdesh. Are we going to say, therefore, that it's always forbidden?
It's the equivalent.
And therefore, are we saying that it's the equivalent of hekdesh in our situation? Amar le pshita. It's obvious. The afal gav, the yahava le b'matana, asur. Okay, namely from the language of kikari alayich, in that case, Rava is arguing, even when he gives it to him as a gift, nevertheless, that loaf is still forbidden to that person. Okay, right? Ella kikari alayach, but perhaps rather we're going to say that when he made his neder, that this loaf is, let's call it hekdesh, or okay, la'afuke mai, to exclude what? Lav la'afuke, the igan vamine mignav. Wouldn't we say that it comes to exclude a situation where if he tries to steal it from him, okay, it's considered stolen, okay, property, and therefore that the ganav, so to speak, the person taking it has acquired it. Amarle lo, he says no. La'afuke the asmane ale. No, it becomes to tell us that it's forbidden to him were he to invite him
and
to
share it.
give it to him as part of a meal. Gemara is going to go on and tell us, no, that's not the case. And we go on tomorrow with Lamed Hey, a TV, how he answered back to him. Okay, so that's the point. It seems like a fairly simple Gemara, but there were some
Well, because what the Gemara is highlighting is the wording, and we've had this several times already. The wording of a neder is critical to how it's understood.
Great, good. That's why we've always said you've got to go back to the concept of what's saying here. In other words,
Right.
how the person specifically states what words matter, gentlemen,
Words matter.
And intent matters.
and intent matters. And
But
that's
the
why
only way you can determine intent is through words.
and that's why
That's why we had a whole series of idiom missions.
what? Now what?
I come along, I'm gonna make the whole thing, this. Who
What?
gave you the right to do it? I put a sign up free for the taking. That means I'm wanting everybody to have a benefit from it.
But you can't, then it's not yours. You have no bias anymore. You can't. decide.
If you say something,
I say, okay, I want the whole thing, now give me that.
Yeah, you can do that.
Yeah.
It's only-
right, then you can come back and claim it, and then it's yours. Right.
I just want to give
I'm
you credit
trying
for
to
having
do
a
the
short
mission,
partial.
everybody
It's
should
one
benefit
dominant
from
and
it.
one yet
And he
short.
goes,
It's very well done. I don't know how you worked that out. Very well done.
The minute you relinquish ownership.
The
you
Gemara
have
Bava
no-
Metzia actually
no
says
control.
that
Let
Daled Amos
anybody go now
is Conan,
wants to
is,
inquire,
that's a
it can do
Conan
what he likes
Drabonim,
with it.
specifically because if they didn't do that, then people see a lost art, something on the street that's
They would
after,
immediately
you
claim
have
it.
10 people saying, I saw it.
I
it's
saw
mine."
it's smart.
So the
Okay.
more said if it's in the Daled Amos one of them, he's gonna be calling it.
Oh, it's not
But
serious.
you know what? Only if you got to the, okay, only if you saw an art scroll referring to the Baba Metzia Gemara, would you pick up on that?
In order to
Okay,
say
and that's one of my issues,
that has to
is
be
that,
shown.
okay, were it not for Rashi or somebody else bringing that in,
Okay, 'cause
how
if
can you
it's
assume that
related
somebody who's
to
learning this Gemara for
Would
the
know
first time would know that? Okay,
inadvertent
because we see other places in the Gemara, we see other places where the
Right.
Gemara says, well, this is an argument, okay?
Right.
Like we just saw, no, look, we just saw, look at the difference. Whereas we referred to Pluta Rav Yosef, it did not discuss the argument.
No.
It did not discuss it whatsoever. You had to go to a commentary. But where it had Hanan disagreeing with the Bnei Kohanim, notice that the Gemara took the whole time to cite the whole case. So why is it that at times the Gemara cites the whole argument and gives it to you in the text, and at other times Ravina and Ravashi didn't do that? Okay, that's okay. So to me, that's an editorial problem.
Kenny,
in the
he makes
Gemara.
a great point that the Me'ila is only if it's inadvertent. The penalty is of Me'ila. The penalty of
If
paying
it's
a
shogeg,
homage
if
is
it's
only if it's
shogeg, But if it's
If it's
Mazin,
Mazin, I think they kill you or Koresh or something.
I would think it would be Kares.
Yeah.
I was making a good point. I was making.
No,
a
he
point.
had written it
No.
down.
Seven and a half years, 7.5 years ago, the word, I didn't have the word. Circled it.
Yeah.
All of the
Yeah, we should have mentioned
discussions
that.
that came
it
up here,
was
that wasn't mentioned at all.
inadvertent. I don't like accidental, I like
Inadvertent,
inadvertent.
yeah.
Similar.
No, but it's the concept that, again,
Yes,
come
I-
back
We're
to the
inadvertent.
concept.
Accidentally, I inadvertently.
But you're correct, otherwise the
Okay.
penalty is not a chomesh, the penalty is that God is pretty pissed.
1:15.
1:15. So how long is did you look ahead? When you get home, you look ahead and estimate how long it will take.
I have trouble with
Just, I
my
don't
hearing,
mean start
my hearing
running,
aid.
I mean,
When I hear more than one voice, then I don't hear it, then either one.
The Gemara tells you also the same things. Shtei kolos, okay? Lo mishtame, says the Gemara, right? So it's very understandable.
When he says Kiko Ray, he's talking about my loaf. It doesn't mean this particular loaf. It just means my
Kikari,
loaf.
he's talking about this loaf
Then
right here
he's
that
talking about
belongs
this
to
particular
me,
loaf.
right? Whether or not he's alayich, implying that he's making a neder regarding this particular loaf.
But if he says Kikori, it could be as long as
he
it's
says that-
mine.
That's the Gemara's point.
That's the point. If he simply said this loaf, what?
This
so
loaf
fine.
is forbidden to you. So who cares who the owner is? But if he says my loaf is forbidden to you, then he gives it to you. It's no longer my oath. You can
Right.
eat it.
That's
That's the Gemara's question. And the answer is that when you make the oath, you obviously do not mean to that exclusion, and they wind up concluding the exclusion you want to make is if he decides to share it. But I like that if you come along and steal it, it's no longer forbidden.